Hey friends, welcome to the Church Planting Podcast. I'm Greg Nettle and I serve as the president of Stadia Church Planting. We want to help you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches for the next generation. On this episode, we have an amazing leader. Chad Clarkson is our guest, and Chad is a passionate and innovative leader in the church planting area of ministry. He's the co-founder and executive director of the Houston Church Planting Network, which is a collaborative initiative dedicated to equipping and planting churches throughout the greater Houston area. Through HCPN, Chad has helped foster a unique culture of collaboration among churches, empowering leaders to plant gospel-centered churches in one of the most diverse cities in the world. His dedication to training and mentoring church planters has made a significant impact on church multiplication and community transformation. I'm thrilled to have Chad on the podcast today to share his insights with us about leadership, collaboration, and the exciting work of church planting. Well, I'm really excited today to have a special guest. Chad Clarkson's on the Church Planting Podcast with me, a rock star in the church planting world, executive director of the Houston Church Planting Network. Welcome, Chad, to the Church Planting Podcast.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here with you today. I appreciate the invite.
Chad, I want to start at the beginning. I mean, Houston Church Planting Network, HCPN, we'll probably call it throughout the podcast, but I mean, it's had huge success over the last years and it's kind of one of the benchmarks for other church planting networks. So I'm really excited to have you here. How did it get started, Chad? Where did the vision begin?
Yes, I was a church planting missions pastor at Clear Creek Community Church. That's actually where I'm at recording this today. Our lead pastor was the guy that planted the church, Bruce Wesley. And he just really had a heart from the beginning to be a church that multiplies at every level. So when I came in, it was really a clean slate to kind of step into that role. And we just kind of developed the vision off of Acts 1:8, you're going to be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, ends of the earth. And so that was kind of our strategy. What's our Jerusalem look like? And for us at Clear Creek, that was our part of Houston. We call it the 4B area. The B letter from the Beltway to the beach, Brazoria County to the Bay, that geography, about 600,000 people. So that was our Jerusalem. And so we do a lot of multi-site work in there. We partner with other churches, realizing we're not the only church that cares about the lostness and brokenness of our geography. So work with other churches, trying to mobilize our people in that geography. That was our Jerusalem. Our ends of the earth, we said we want to do missions that results in church planting. So everything we've done globally has been, committed to church planting. And then our Judea, Samaria really became, how do we get after greater Houston? We're a church more in the suburbs, but having a heart for the city. Judea kind of being that next concentric circle, and then Samaria just being culturally different. So at that time, Houston was 6 million people. Now it's like 7.5 million people. And so that was the commitment to be like, all right, how do we get after Houston? And so that was really the beginning.
Okay, so how long ago was that, Chad?
That was 2010.
Okay, good.
2009. Yeah. So we did our first unofficial gathering of the Houston Church Planting Network. It would have been December of 2009.
Okay. And now I just want to stop because you said something, in my opinion, it's kind of profound in there that a lot of people need to hear, because a lot of people ask, oh, well, is multi-siting okay? Or should it just be church planting and all this stuff? And in my experience, it's both. Healthy churches often do both. And that's what we see. If they're just doing multi-site, then I'd say, I think you're missing some of it. Or if you're, are you finding that to be the same for your church?
Exactly. We were always both and. So we're like, that was our commitment. It'd be like, if there's a church, like right here in our geography where we're doing multi-site, we're also supporting several church planters as a local church, because our heart is the 600,000, right? Not just another church, which we want to do, but it's ultimately, hey, we're starting with the lostness of people. And so we need multiple churches, and we're going to get behind it. If they're committed to the gospel and Jesus, we're like, how can we help?
Okay. So you said the network began in 2009. What did that look like? What's it mean what is the Houston Church Planting Network?
Yeah. So it wasn't like we had, so we did a lunch gathering. There's probably 25, 30 people, mainly church planters, maybe a few other established pastors. And it wasn't like, hey, here's the vision of the Houston Church Planting Network. We want to lay out the strategic plan. It was nothing like that. It was like, we feel like God's stirring something. And at that time we said, we want to be about Houston, and talked about, the geography, the diversity of Houston, how fast it was growing. We wanted to be about church planting, saying that's what our commitment to reaching our geography is going to be planting churches, the most effective way. We've all seen those quotes in the church planting world. And then we wanted to be a network. But even from the beginning, we said we want to be a network of networks. And so we weren't asking people to like quit being Acts 29 or quit being Baptist or quit being Presbyterian, but, just throw your hat into the ring for something else while being part of what you currently were. So the network of networks idea. So that's what we said from the beginning, Houston Church Planting Network. And it wasn't like we had some cool name like Stadia. We didn't have a name for it. So someone said, why don't you just call it the Houston Church Planting Network? So that's what that's what stuck from those beginning days.
Okay, and so then these churches start to come together. I mean, is there financial buy-in? When did that happen? I mean, did you just find a church planter? What were the steps that actually happened?
Yeah. So honestly, those first several years after that first gathering, we were like, all right, we're waiting for the manna from heaven to fall down. Yeah. But honestly, it was crickets. It was like the church planters are like, hey, thanks for the lunch. We appreciate that. But we didn't get a ton of momentum. But we decided, hey, we're going to do this again next month. And then we did it again and did it again. And honestly, it probably took about 3 years of just doing those gatherings of getting together before we felt like, it was probably a season, probably around 2013. So maybe been longer than 3 years. Where the Spirit just began to strike a match in hearts. And we felt like kind of this energy and work we'd been putting in was begin to seeing some fruit. Some more established churches were saying, hey, we want to be a part of this. Church planters were continuing to show up. I think our consistency of just continuing to meet, because a lot of times people see something come into a city and it's like it's gone in, a year or something like that. But I think that consistency was impactful. So it took about 3 or 4 years to get some momentum. But then as it did, we just kind of felt like we've been building since.
Okay. And so when you say getting momentum, did somebody sit down or did a team sit down and start saying, hey, this is our vision, this is our mission, this is our values? Did it become formalized?
Yeah, we did. In that first year, we kind of put like a co-creation team. We didn't have that language at 15 years ago, but hearing that now. And so just brought, 4, 5, 6 key leaders together and began to craft our mission, vision, values. We used the Lausanne statement for our theological unifying statement of faith. And so really those things have not changed.
Okay. So what is the vision and the mission? Yeah.
Yeah. So we said our mission, we're a network of networks committed to strengthening church planters to multiply churches that reach every man, woman, and child in greater Houston.
Wow.
And I think those also encompass our values, because people can get excited about, mission short term, but we found over time, it's like the values, are they really going to stick to this? It's like a commitment to the values. So we've said our value is saturation. That was one of our values from the beginning. It's like, all right, every man, woman, and child, it's mission. How do we get after the city? It's multiplication. We want to see the multiplication of churches. That's what we're committed to. We want to see collaboration. That was our third value, not competition, but are we co-laborers in this initiative? And then we said formation, that we're committed to planting healthy churches, which kind of helped kind of be an impetus for starting our residencies and trainings because we wanted healthy church planters.
Okay, so you're 14, 15 years down the road now.
Mm-hmm.
How do you have a ballpark on how many churches that the HCPN has helped start during that time?
Yeah, I think we do different residencies programs. Our finishing residency is designed for those that'll plant like in a year.
Okay.
I think we've had 65 probably go through that are a part of it. Right now we have 160 churches that are part of HCPN. I'd say about 110 are probably new churches in the last 11, 12 years, 10 years, something like that. And so some of those will come, they didn't all go through the finishing residency, but will connect in different ways and part of different trainings we do, but have said, hey, we want to throw our hat in the ring to collaborating to get after Houston.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Houston. I mean, that's just incredible. And I love hearing about that. What are some of the benefits you've seen? Let's start. What are the benefits for a church planter, let's say, to be part of a network like HCPN?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. One, I keep going back. I mean, the big two things for us, especially in the area of collaboration, we talk about the two wings of an airplane. So you're a part of a network because you want to collaborate, you want to work for others. So kind of those two wings for us have been mission and relationships. And so I think we keep coming back to that. It's like, all right, mission is a benefit. It's like, all right, you've got your church plant in the part of the city, 100 people, whatever you're getting after, which is fantastic. But you put your eyes up and it's like, all right, the city's now 7.5 million people, and not even a church of 100, whether you're a church of 5,000 people.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's like, we're behind.
Yeah.
So I think being part of that lets you know that, hey, there's others committed to a similar vision of reaching the city in different parts of the region or the geography. So I think that's one of the benefits. And then the benefit of relationships, kind of that other wing of the airplane. I mean, just getting to know other pastors, church planters. I mean, as a church planter, you get to know that, hey, you're not the only crazy one out there. There's other people trying this and getting after it, which is great. And then the relationships with other established pastors, I think lends itself to support. Like we've had residents go through and they'll have, if they hustle, they'll have 30, 40 churches supporting them, if not more, where they've done the homework of just kind of building relationships, doing calls like this and things like that. So I think that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, and we haven't talked about this data before this. So, all these churches launching in your network, have you seen any of the churches fail? Or the reason I'm asking is I'm wondering if there's a higher success rate in the network model, than an independent church planter going out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to answer your question, we have had some, COVID was tough for a few, didn't sustain that. But overall, I mean, I think I haven't run the data in a while, but it's probably 90% of those who finished the residencies that are, still going today. So I think it's a huge, huge upside being part of a network just because it offers everything. And you know what networks do, like Stadia, it's like you offer assessment, you offer training, and anytime a church planter can do those things, I mean, it's a win. So someone may go through and they think they're a church planter, and years ago they may not have done the assessment. Yeah. It's like they're out there and it's like, oh, I wish I would have known this. Where the assessment's a win, even if it tells them no, because it's preventing a failed church planting. And probably misery in the family and a whole bunch of other things, heartache.
Yeah, Chad, it's fascinating. We hear all the stories, and certainly around you all as well, but the failures of senior pastors and the burnouts and the screw ups and all of that. And we actually I just asked our team to run our data for, Stadia historically on how many of our church planters have failed morally or flamed out like that. And it was unimaginably low.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to crank data on the why of that. But one of the things I believe we're finding is because the church planters go through such a rigorous discovery process or assessment, as you call it, you find marriage problems, you find financial problems before it ever happens. Have you found that to be true at HCPN?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Both those things that, in fact, we've partnered with Stadia on the discovery process, which has been a huge tool for us, a huge benefit. And we've had that. We've had things come out in the assessment where it's just like, we love you, but you cannot.
Not now.
Not now because of what's come out. Again, but everybody, I mean, hopefully if they're and in the majority of cases, I can't think of one that people didn't receive that well. It was almost like, I get it.
Okay, you've mentioned residency numerous times, and I think a lot of churches like the idea of residency. I hear it all the time. We want to start a residency program. Could you flesh that out a little bit? What does residency mean to you all? Where does it take place? How does it take place?
Yeah. So we started with what we call a finishing residency that was really collaborative from the beginning. So the people that were a part of that, I think this is our 9th year of doing a finishing residency. And we were doing some stuff before at our local church. Now we moved it to more collaboration. So in fact, our residents are meeting today. So they're in like an all-day training.
Nice.
They met started at 8:00. They do soul care in the mornings. So had someone do like a soul care session. Again, going back to that healthy formation of healthy church planters. And actually our pastor then is doing the training the rest of the day with them. And so he'll do a couple sessions with them. And then we have others Well, I mean, the residents that go through, they'll have probably touches from 30 to 40 different pastors around Houston. So we feel like the collaboration is like, if you go through the residency, you're getting the best that Houston has to offer. So trying to find different trainers in their sweet spot, things like that. So we do it where they're a part of the HCPN, but they're also tethered or anchored to a local church.
Nice.
Which is important. So they have that relationship. That relationship is the coach. They're the main sending church. There may be other supporting churches, and hopefully that's the case. We want that, but ultimately, they tend to have one, sometimes two key sending churches in that process where they're spending time with as well.
How long does residency last?
So we have a finishing residency that's about 10 months long. So for us, we used to meet 2 days a week, but with the geography of Houston, it's a lot of driving. So we went to one longer day with that. When we did the finishing residency, the realization after the first couple of years was like the majority of people that were applying for that weren't ready. So we had to go back, and now we do what we call a foundational residency for those that are kicking the tires of church planting. So I think we got like 19 or 20 in that this year that are participating in that. That'll hopefully then move them to finishing residency if they're ready the following year.
Okay, so the big question that it's on my mind right now, and I'm sure the mind of others, is where are these residents coming from?
Yeah, it's definitely, well, first of all, I think it's thinned out. I think everybody I've talked to in different cities, it's like, oh man, it's harder to find church planters than it was a decade ago, or people that were interested in church planting. Still, the majority that I'm seeing are coming from our current partner churches.
Okay.
I think we tend to get a lot of I want to be careful how I say this, but church planters that are more ready tend to come from more established churches. They've been on staff. They've got that church. I mean, we're looking for those that have church experience. They've got that ministry experience. They've got a measure of kind of emotional maturity. They've been kind of walk with a limp a little bit. They're not. It's kind of that balance. You got to have a confidence as a church planter, but not cockiness. So you're kind of looking for those that have strong emotional maturity, but not overly like
still teachable.
Still teachable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so I know that we've got leaders that have apostolic bent and leanings in lots of cities across the country. Is there some way, like, do you guys ever do a conference or anything, or how should they, if they want to learn from what you all done, so they don't have to make the mistakes that you've all made? That's what I always tell people. How do they get in touch with you? Is there a way to learn from you all?
Yeah, we started something called City Networks. The website's citynetworks.org.
Excellent.
Our HCPN is hcpn.org. But we've had the last couple of years, we've probably had 20 teams from, I think, 22 different cities, some from the United States, the majority from the United States, some globally, that have come in for this learning lab. We'll continue to do. We're doing a cohort right now with some other city leaders that are doing something similar to HCPN in their city. And that's just an attempt to say both those are like, here's what we've learned. Take it and make it better, and then give it back to us so we can now learn from you.
Right.
So it's all open-handed. We're learning along the way, but it's exciting to watch these others kind of pop up in different cities now. And I'm taking stuff from them, and now it's coming back to help Houston, which is fantastic.
Tell us the website one more time. The URL.
Yeah, citynetworks.org.
Okay, citynetworks.org. Go check that out. Okay, so let's talk about, you're planning all these churches around Houston. Are they all the same modalities? I mean, you have the launch large model, but I mean, today we have bivocational, co-vocational, we have digital, we have virtual, we have all of these things, micro. What kind of things are you doing with that, Chad?
It's all of the above. It's like, all right, if this isn't illegal or immoral, let's get it done. So there's different styles. And that even helps with the network of networks idea, because we have people that are doing house churches, hybrids, more kind of, launch large, different styles. So it helps to then connect them to different churches in the city that have experience doing that, or different networks and denominations that may be a strong suit. So we say we don't teach to a model, but we want them to understand what their model is. So we're more teaching principles, and then we'll connect them to, hey, what makes most sense for who you are. Kind of we talk about person, place, and plan a lot in church planting. So who you are as a planter, where you're planting, and then what's the best model or strategy to get after that.
Okay, and what is the financial model of HCPN? I mean, do these church planters get money? How does that work?
No, we've discovered for HCPN, we fund the finishing residencies. So we give them a stipend to participate in that, feel like we're buying their time. So we have different churches. HCPN is supported by our partner churches. We don't require a certain percent.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, if you believe in this, throw something in the hat and let's get after this together. But we have some very generous churches that have really made HCPN a reality. And so for church planters, we say we don't fund your plant. We'll help fund the training. But in the process, we're teaching on fundraising. We're doing fundraising training, support raising, all that. And we're giving them a network of, you're getting, 100 different churches contact information. So if you're going to, again, go back to hustle, you're going to be able to raise the support, I think.
Okay, let me just shift gears a little bit because, your area where you guys are working at specifically, I mean, the Latino Hispanic population it's enormous. It's growing like crazy. Are you seeing any movement in that? Are you planting churches in that area?
We've done some training. HCPN has done some specific training along that in the past. We've had foundational things like that. I feel like we're not doing it well as a HCPN right now as a whole. Part of that is capacity. But there's some people that are connected to HCPN. Like we partner with the Union Baptist Association. Some of the guys there are killing it. Champion Forest has probably the best Spanish residency that I've seen. So they're doing a great job training. Jarrett, their lead pastor's on our HCPN board. So we're doing like a lot of that. It's like, hey, we're not training specifically as a network, so help filter in. So we've had like just recently, like a Presbyterian planter reach out, Hispanic, want to do something like that, but we're connecting them over to the Baptists for training just to help with that. And it's like, hey, let's do it. Whatever works. And all the groups are on board because I think it's the realization that, no, we're about the city. We're not just building our brand.
This is exciting for me, Chad, because, Stadia is committed for every child to have a church, which means, man alive, in the United States, it's got to be multi-ethnic. So we're in the process and really moving towards the finish line of designing our full Discovery Espanol. So our whole assessment system will be done. We'll have a full Espanol discovery system because it's just so needed. So I hope we can learn from each other, and because that's going to be one, it's going to need refined and figuring out, because the thing about the Latino population is there's so many different groups in Brown Church, if you will, that we have to kind of move along with. Okay, so let's just say somebody wants to get involved, got a planter out there right now going, man, this sounds like I want to do it. How do they get in touch with HCPN? How do they get into your residency? What do they need to do?
Yeah, they can go to our website, which is hcpn.org. And if you're interested in just coming, if you're in Houston, if you're interested in one of our gatherings, there's a place to RSVP for the gathering. Our next one, just had one with Ed Stetzer was here.
Nice.
In August, and Vance Pittman's going to be our speaker for October.
Fantastic.
1. And so we'll do continued gatherings, or if you're interested in one of our training programs, there's a place to request more information on those as well. And if you're in another city, you're looking to connect with a network similar to HCPN, I think in my Excel file, I've got like 40 different cities listed that are, trying something. So would love to help any cities connect. You can get me at Chad at HCPN.org. Would be happy to help you make a connection.
Chad at HCPN.org. Okay, just gave it out. So
there you go. Yeah.
Get in touch with him. Okay, Chad, where are you learning right now? Are you reading? Are there any books you're reading? Any podcasts you're listening to?
The Church Plant Pod, right with you.
All right.
Here we go. So I've been spending, some of it's soul care for me personally. So I feel like I've been doing some 10-man stuff. So personally, which has been great. We keep going back to the formation. And part of that is seeing, again, it goes back to, we want church planters to finish. So I think that's important to us as a network. How are we building into the souls and hearts? So obviously I like the John Mark Comer stuff too. And
oh man,
still reading the Keller stuff. And where those are some of the things, but
it's so exciting. And what's going on in soul care right now, and kind of a revival in that area. And so happy that you're kind of leaning into that. Chad Clarkson, Executive Director of HCPN. Chad, thanks for all the work you do. Thanks for joining us on the Church Planting Podcast.
It's a privilege. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Church Planting Podcast, part of the Stadia Podcast Network. To find more great episodes and to see how Stadia can help you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches for the next generation, be sure to check out stadia.org/podcasts.